Status, the Georgia Peach. We're gonna get in here with the Initiates of the Flame by Manly P. Hall.
This reprinted edition of The Initiates of the Flame is dedicated by the editor to all who seek the light of wisdom through the flesh of darkness. He who lives the life shall know the doctrine. The Initiates of the Flame. Introduction. Few realize that even at the present state of civilization in this world, there are souls who, like the priests of the ancient temples, walk the earth and watch and guard the sacred fires that burn upon the altar of humanity. Purified ones they are, who have renounced the life of this sphere in order to guard and protect the flame, that spiritual principle in man, now hidden beneath the ruins of his fallen temple. As we think of the nations that are past, of Greece and Rome, and the grandeur that was Egypt's, we sigh as we recall the story of their fall, and we watch the nations of today, not knowing which will be the next to draw its shroud around itself and join that great ghostly file of peoples that are dead. But everywhere, even in the rise and fall of nations, we see through the haze of materiality, justice. Everywhere we see reward, not of man, but of the invincible one, the eternal flame. A great hand reaches out from the unseen and regulates the affairs of man. It reaches out from that great spiritual flame which nourishes all created things, the never-dying fire that burns on the sacred altar of cosmos. That great fire which is the spirit of God. If we turn again to the races now dead, we shall, if we look, find the cause of their destruction. The light had gone out. When the flame within the body is withdrawn, the body is dead. When the light was taken from the altar, the temple was no longer the dwelling place of a living God. Degeneracy, lust, and passion, hates and fears crept into the souls of Greece and Rome, and black magic overshadowed Egypt. The light upon the altar grew weaker and weaker. The priests lost the word, the name of the flame. Little by little, the flame flickered out, and as the last spark grew cold, a mighty nation died, buried beneath the dead ashes of its own spiritual fire. But the flame did not die. Like spirit of which it is the essence, it cannot die, because it is life, and life cannot cease to be. In some wilderness of land or sea, it rested once again, and there rose a mighty nation around that flame. So history goes on through the ages. As long as a people are true to the flame, it remains. But when they cease to nourish it with their lives, it goes on to other lands and other worlds. Those who worship this flame are now called heathens. Little do we realize that we are heathen ourselves until we are baptized of the Holy Spirit, which is fire, for fire is light, and the children of the flame are the sons of light, even as God is light. There are those who have for ages labored with man to help him to kindle with himself this spark, which is his divine birthright. It is these who by their lives of self-sacrifice and service have awakened and tended this fire, and who through the ages, and who through ages of study, have learned the mystery it contained, that we now call the initiates of the flame. For ages they have labored with mankind to help him to uncover the light within himself, and on the pages of history they have left their seal, the seal of fire. Unhonored and unsung, they have labored with humanity, and now their lives are used as fairy stories to amuse children. But the time will yet come when the world shall know the work they did, and realize that our present civilization is raised upon the shoulders of the mighty demigods of the past. We stand as Faust stood, with all our lore, a fool, no wiser than before, because we refuse to take the truths they gave us, and the evidence of their experiences. Let us honor these sons of the flame, not by words, but by so living that their sacrifice shall not be in vain. They have shown us the way. They have led man to the gateway of the unknown, and there, in their robes of glory, passed behind the veil. Their lives were the key to their wisdom, as it must always be. They have gone, but in history they stand, milestones on the road of human progression. Let us watch these mighty ones as they pass silently by. First, Orpheus, playing upon the seven-string lyre of his own being, the music of the spheres. Then Hermes, the thrice greatest, with his emerald tablet of divine revelation. Through the shades of the past, we dimly see Krishna, the illuminated, who on the battlefield of life taught man the mysteries of his own soul. Then we see the sublime Buddha, his yellow robe not half so glorious as the heart it covered, and our own dear master, the man Jesus, his head surrounded with a halo of golden flame, and his brow serene with the calm of mastery. Then Muhammad, Zoroaster, Confucius, Odin, and Moses, and others no less worthy pass by before the eyes of the student. They were the sons of flame. From the flame they came, and to the flame they have returned. To us they beckon and bid us join them, and in our robes of self-earned glory to serve the flame they love. They were without creed or clan. They served but the one great ideal. From the same place they all came, and to the same place they have returned. There was no superiority there. Hand in hand, they labor for humanity. Each loves the other, for the power that has made them masters has shown them the brotherhood of all life. In the pages that follow, we will try to show this great thread, the spiritual thread, the thread of living fire that winds in and out through all religions and binds them together with a mutual idea and mutual needs. In the story of the Grail and the legends of King Arthur, we find that thread wound around the table of the king in the temple of Mount Salvard. This same thread of life that passes through the roses of the Rosicrucians winds among the petals of the lotus and among the temple pillars of Luxor. There is but one religion in all the world, and that is the worship of God, the spiritual flame of the universe. Under many names he is known in all lands, but as Iswari or Ammon or God, he is the same, the creator of the universe, and fire is his universal symbol. We are the flame-born sons of God, thrown out as sparks from the wheels of the infinite. Around this flame we have built forms which have hidden our light, but as students, we are increasing this light by love and service, until it shall again proclaim us sons of the eternal. Within us burns that flame, and before its altar the lower man must bow, a faithful servant of the higher. When he serves the flame, he grows, and the light grows, until he takes his place with the true initiates of the universe, those who have given all to the infinite in the name of the flame within. Let us find this flame and also serve it, realizing that it is in all created things, that all are one because all are part of that eternal flame, the fire of spirit, the life and power of the universe. Upon the altar of this flame, to the true creator of this book, the writer offers it and dedicates it to the one fire which blazes forth from God and is now hidden within each living thing. Forward, the greatest of mystery schools. The world is the schoolroom of God. Our being in school does not make us learn, but within that school is the opportunity for all learning. It has its grades and its classes, its sciences and its arts, and admission to it is the birthright of man. Its graduates are its teachers, its pupils are all created things. Its examples are nature, and its rules are God's laws. Those who would go into the greater colleges and universities must first, day by day and year by year, work through the common school of life and present to their new teachers the diplomas they have won, upon which is written the name that none may read, save those who have received it. The hours may seem long and the teachers cruel, but each of us must walk that path, and the only ones ready to go onward are those who have passed through the gateway of experience. God's great school for men. The cube altar. Of the elements of the earth is this altar composed. It is the great cube of matter. On or in this altar burns a flame. It is this flame that is the spirit of all created things. Man, know thyself. Thou art the flame, and thy bodies are the living altar. Chapter 1. The Fire Upon the Altar. As far back as our history goes, we find that fire has played an important part in the religious ceremonial of the human race. In practically every religion, we find the sacred altar fires, which were guarded by the priests and vestals with greater care than their own lives. In the Bible, we find many references made to the sacred fires, which were used as one form of devotion by the ancient Israelites. The altar of burnt offerings is as old as the human race and dates from the time when the first man, lifting himself out of the mists of ancient Lemuria, first saw the sun, the great fire spirit of the universe. Among the followers of Zoroaster, the Persian initiate, fire has been used for centuries in honor of the great fire god, Ormuzd, who is said by them to have created the universe. The ever-burning lamp. Know that the flame that burns within thee and lights thy way is the ever-burning lamp of the ancients. As their lamps were fed by the purest of oil, so thy spiritual flame must be fed by a life of purity and altruism. There are two paths, or divisions of humanity, whose history is closely related to that of the wisdom teachings. They embody the doctrines of fire and water, the two opposites of nature. Those who follow the path of faith, or the heart, use water, and are known as the sons of Seth, while those who follow the path of the mind and action are the children of Cain, who was the son of Samael, the spirit of fire. Today we find the latter among the alchemists, the Hermetic philosophers, the Rosicrucians, and the Freemasons. It is well for us to understand that we ourselves are the cube altar upon which and in which burns the altar fire. For many centuries, the initiate of fire has been nourishing and guarding the spiritual flame within himself, as the ancient priests watched day and night the altar fires of Vesta's temple. The ever-burning lamp. The ever-burning lamp of the alchemist, which having burned thousands of years without fuel in the catacombs of Rome, is but a symbol of this same spiritual fire within himself. In the picture, we see the ever-burning lamp, which was carried by the initiate in his wandering. It represents the spinal column of man, at the top of which is flickering a little blue and red flame. As the lamp of the ancients was fed and kept burning by the purest of olive oil, so man is transmitting within himself and cleansing in the labor of purification the life essences, which, when turned upward, provide fuel for the ever-burning lamp within himself. The Masonic censer. As the perfume rising from the incense burner was acceptable in the sight of the Lord, so may our words and actions ever be a sweet incense, acceptable in the sight of the Most High. Upon the altars of the ancients were offered sacrifices to their gods. The ancient Hierophant offered up sacrifices of spices and incense. The Masonic brother of today still has among his symbols the incense burner or censer, but few of the brothers recognize themselves in this symbol. The ancients symbolized under such things as this, the development of the individual, and as the tiny spark burning among the incense cubes slowly consumes all, so the spiritual flame within the student is slowly burning away and transmuting the base metals and properties within himself, and offering up the essence thereof as the smoke upon the altar of divinity. It is said that King Solomon, when he completed his temple, offered bulls as a sacrifice to the Lord by burning them upon the temple altar. Those who believe in a harmless life wonder why so many references are made in the Bible to animal sacrifice. The student realizes that the animal sacrifices are those of the celestial zodiac, and that when the ram or the bull was offered upon the altar, it represented the qualities in man which come through Aries, the celestial ram, and Taurus, the bull in the zodiac. In other words, the initiate, passing through his tests and purification, is offering upon the altar of his own higher being the lower animal instincts and desires within himself. Among the Masonic brothers, we also find what is called the symbol of mortality. It is a spade, a coffin, and an open grave, while upon the coffin has been laid a sprig of acacia or evergreen. In the picture, we see the spade of the grave digger, which has been considered the symbol of death for centuries. The grave digger's spade. Let us take the spade that now digs our grave through the passions and emotions of life and use it to unearth the secret room far below the rubbish of the fallen temple of the human soul. In the Book of Thoth, that strange document which has descended to man at his present stage of evolution as a deck of playing cards, we find a very wonderful symbolism of all the suits of cards. That of the spade is the only suit in which all the court cards face away from the pip, and all the other kings and queens, the faces are looking at the little marker in the corner of the card, but in the spade suit, they look away from it. Now, it is said that the spade has been taken from the acorn, but the occult student has a different idea. He sees in the spade, which has 4 ages between the symbol of death.
This is Audible.
Rosicrucian and Masonic Origins, The Foundations of Freemasonry series, by Manly P. Hall, narrated by Adam Hannon. Rosicrucian and Masonic Origins. Freemasonry is a fraternity within a fraternity, an outer organization concealing an inner brotherhood of the elect. Before it is possible to intelligently discuss the origin of the craft, it is necessary, therefore, to establish the existence of these two separate yet interdependent orders, the one visible and the other invisible. The visible society is a splendid camaraderie of free and accepted men, enjoined to devote themselves to ethical, educational, fraternal, patriotic, and humanitarian concerns. The invisible society is a secret and most august fraternity, whose members are dedicated to the service of a mysterious arcanum arcanorum. Those brethren who have essayed to write the history of their craft have not included in their disquisitions the story of that truly secret inner society, which is to the body Freemasonic what the heart is to the body human. In each generation, only a few are accepted into the inner sanctuary of the work, but these are veritable princes of the truth, and their sainted names shall be remembered in future ages together with the seers and prophets of the elder world. Though the great initiate philosophers of Freemasonry can be counted upon one's fingers, yet their power is not to be measured by the achievements of ordinary men. They are dwellers upon the threshold of the innermost, masters of that secret doctrine which forms the invisible foundation of every great theological and rational institution. The outer history of the Masonic Order is one of noble endeavor, altruism, and splendid enterprise. The inner history, one of silent conquest, persecution, and heroic martyrdom. The body of Masonry rose from the guilds of workmen who wandered the face of medieval Europe. But the spirit of Masonry walked with God before the universe was spread out or the scroll of the heavens unrolled. The enthusiasm of the young Mason is the effervescence of a pardonable pride. Let him extol the merits of his craft, reciting its steady growth, its fraternal spirit, and its worthy undertakings. Let him boast of splendid buildings and an ever-increasing sphere of influence. These are the tangible evidence of power, and should rightly set aflutter the heart of the apprentice who does not fully comprehend as yet that great strength which abides in silence, or that unutterable dignity to be sensed only by those who have been raised into the contemplation of the inner mystery. An obstacle well nigh insurmountable is to convince the Mason himself that the secrets of his craft are worthy of his profound consideration. As St. Paul, so we are told, kicked against the pricks of conversion, so the rank and file of present-day Masons strenuously oppose any effort put forth to interpret Masonic symbols in the light of philosophy. They are seemingly obsessed by the fear that from their ritualism may be extracted a meaning more profound than is actually contained therein. For years, it has been a mooted question whether Freemasonry is actually a religious organization. Masonry, writes Pike, however, in the Legenda for the 19th degree, has and always had a religious creed. It teaches what it deems to be the truth in respect to the nature and attributes of God. The more studiously minded Mason regards the craft as an aggregation of thinkers concerned with the deeper mysteries of life. The all too prominent younger members of the fraternity, however, if not openly skeptical, are at least indifferent to these weightier issues. The champions of philosophic Masonry, alas, are a weak, small voice which grows weaker and smaller as time goes by. In fact, there are actual blocks among the brethren who would divorce Masonry from both philosophy and religion at any and all cost. If, however, we search the writings of eminent Masons, we find a unanimity of viewpoint, namely that Masonry is a religious and philosophic body. Every effort initiated to elevate Masonic thought to its true position has thus invariably emphasized the metaphysical and ethical aspects of the craft. But a superficial perusal of available documents will demonstrate that the modern Masonic order is not
the initiation of the pyramid. Supreme among the wonders of antiquity, unrivaled by the achievements of later architects and builders, the Great Pyramid of Giza bears mute witness to an unknown civilization, which, having completed its predestined span, passed into oblivion. Eloquent in its silence, inspiring in its majesty, divine in its simplicity, the Great Pyramid is indeed a sermon in stone. Its magnitude overwhelms the puny sensibilities of man. Among the shifting sands of time it stands as a fitting emblem of eternity itself. Who were the illumined mathematicians who planned its parts and dimensions? The master craftsmen who supervised its construction? The skilled artisans who trued its blocks of stone? The earliest and best-known account of the building of the Great Pyramid is that given by that highly revered but somewhat imaginative historian, Herodotus. The pyramid was built in steps, battlement-wise as it is called, or according to others, altar-wise. After laying the stones for the base, they raised the remaining stones to their places by means of machines, formed of short wooden planks. The first machine raised them from the ground to the top of the first step. On this there was another machine, which received the stone upon its arrival and conveyed it to the second step, whence a third machine advanced it still higher. Either they had as many machines as there were steps in the pyramid, or possibly they had but a single machine, which, being easily moved, was transferred from tier to tier as the stone rose. Both accounts are given, and therefore I mention both. The upper portion of the pyramid was finished first. then the middle, and finally the part which was lowest and nearest the ground. There is an inscription in Egyptian characters on the pyramid, which records the quantity of radishes, onions, and garlic consumed by the laborers who constructed it. And I perfectly well remember that the interpreter who read the writing to me said that the money expended in this way was 1,600 talents of silver. If this then is a true record, what a vast sum must have been spent on the iron tools used in the work, and on the feeding and clothing of the laborers, considering the length of time the work lasted, which has already been stated 10 years, and the additional time, no small space I imagine, which must have been occupied by the quarrying of the stones, their conveyance, and the formation of the underground apartments. While his account is extremely colorful, it is apparent that the father of history, for reasons which he doubtless considered sufficient, concocted a fraudulent story to conceal the true origin and purpose of the Great Pyramid. This is but one of several instances in his writings which would lead the thoughtful reader to suspect that Herodotus himself was an initiate of the sacred schools, and consequently obligated to preserve inviolate the secrets of the ancient orders. The theory advanced by Herodotus, and now generally accepted, that the pyramid was the tomb of the pharaoh Cheops, cannot be substantiated. In fact, Manetho, Eratosthenes, and Diodorus Siculus all differ from Herodotus, as well as from each other, regarding the name of the builder of this supreme edifice. The sepulchral vault, which according to the Lepsius law of pyramid construction
has been used to predict events. More recently, people have begun using astrology as a tool for personal development and growth, seeking insight into their personal patterns, limiting beliefs, and potential. Astrology can help us live in alignment with the elements and cycles of nature, choose optimum timing for everything from farming to relationships to work life, and engage in psychological exploration and past life lessons. Astrology can help us heal our disconnection with the natural cycles of the universe and live in harmony with the cosmic cycles as they work within us. At its highest level, astrology is a tool that brings each of us into a higher spiritual connection with the universe and the cycles of the universe, helping us make conscious choices to live up to our highest potential. My approach to consciousness is humanistic and psychological, and the inner landscape is my focus. We each have every planet and sign working within our soul consciousness. The language of astrology has inadequately expressed that up until now. Times are changing, and so must the language of astrology. Why does astrology work? That's an eternal question, but my response is that it's based on thousands of years of observation. Even though it has been through periods of decline, humanity has always returned to the study of astrology because skilled interpretation of the movements of the cosmos provides answers to the meaning and cycles of life. What is astrology? Astrology is an ancient science that uses observation of the planetary cycles and movements over time to record patterns and events triggered by the movement of the cosmos. As the moon's cycles so clearly affect the Earth's tides, menstrual, and other biorhythmic cycles, and our emotional energies, the other cosmic bodies, luminaries, planets, asteroids, and beyond work within us as well. Everything in the universe is connected, a fact long known by astrologers, but now being recognized by scientists using quantum mechanics, which suggests that every atom affects other atoms. In quantum physics, everything is made of waves and particles and works according to entanglement theory, which suggests that no particle is entirely independent. In a nutshell, everything in the universe works together, and the movements of the cosmic bodies activate energy within us and the natural world. In other words, we are entangled with the entire universe. All the energies intertwine in an intricate dance of planetary magic and science, and the language of astrology interprets that dance. The roots of astrology go back thousands of years. Archaeologists have found evidence that humans may have tracked lunar cycles from the earliest of times, such as cave paintings marked with lunar cycles. Some of this evidence may date back as far as 30,000 BCE. Astrology is often said to be based on calendrical systems, but I would suggest that calendrical systems are based on the movement of the cosmic bodies. The earliest calendars were based on the movement of the sun, the star Sirius, the Egyptian calendar, or the moon, Greek calendar. In other words, witnessing and recording the planetary cycles came first, and then calendrical systems came from the movement of the cosmos. This means that astrology is at the root of all our lives. Astrology has evolved over thousands of years, and there are several different astrological disciplines, including but not limited to Vedic Jyotish Vidya or Hindi astrology, which is based on the sidereal zodiac rather than the tropical zodiac used by Western astrology. Chinese astrology, which is based on a 12-year cycle. Hellenistic astrology, which is a Greco-Roman tradition practiced from the 1st century BCE until the 7th century CE and currently experiencing a revival. And modern Western astrology, which is my own practice and is based on the tropical zodiac. Western astrology originated from Ptolemaic and Babylonian astrology, which takes a more psychological and developmental approach. Key figures in astrological history include Ptolemy, 2nd century CE, who wrote one of the key astrological texts, the Tetrabiblios. Carl Jung, 1875 to 1961, who was a pioneer in using astrology in the field of psychology. Alan Leo, 1860 to 1917, often called the father of modern astrology, and one of my personal favorites, Dane Rudhyar, 1895 to 1985, who coined the term humanistic astrology and helped pioneer modern astrological practices. This book is based on the modern Western tradition. However, all traditions have validity and only differ in their approach, some being more predictive, such as Vedic, and some taking a more personal growth or psychological approach. Modern Western astrology is centered on creating a chart or horoscope that is cast for a specific time, date, and place using the tropical zodiac, which is based on the symbolic relationship between the Earth and the Sun. The tropical zodiac divides the ecliptic into 12 equal parts of 30 degrees each, the signs, and is oriented to the seasons, with the zodiac beginning on the vernal equinox, when the sun moves into Aries. The ecliptic is an imaginary line or plane in the sky that marks the apparent annual path of the sun along which eclipses occur. Astrology's historical origins. Apart from the early evidence of the tracking of lunar cycles in cave paintings and on bones, the recorded history of astrology really began with the Sumerians in Mesopotamia 6,000 years ago, who noted the movements of the cosmos, as well as Vedic or Jyotish astrology, which began at least 5,000 years ago in India. From around 2400 to 331 BCE, the Babylonians, also known as the Chaldeans, created the zodiac wheel with planets, the 12 houses representing areas of life and development. After Alexander the Great conquered the Babylonians, the Greeks further developed astrology, giving the planets and zodiac signs their modern names. In 140 CE, Ptolemy published Tetrabiblios, which contained planets, houses, aspects, and angles, all techniques astrologers still use to this day. Over the centuries, the study and use of astrology waxed and waned in the West. But it flourished in the Middle Ages, when it was a part of mathematics, astronomy, and the medical world. There were royal astrologers, and the oldest universities had astrology chairs. As the church gained power, astrology began to decline. The Age of Reason, including the Protestant Reform movement in the 17th and 18th centuries, began to promote reason and skepticism over what came to be seen as entertainment only. Astrology therefore lost popularity until its resurgence in the late 19th century. Astrology today. Western astrology as we know it today began its resurgence in the late 19th century. Alan Leo is generally credited with the beginning of the renewed interest in astrology and the development of a more spiritual and esoteric approach as a theosophist. Theosophy is a teaching about God and the world based on mystical insights. Alan Leo introduced the concepts of karma and reincarnation into his work as an astrologer and began the move away from event-oriented astrology into character analysis. Another theosophist, Dane Rudhyar, was also involved in this resurgence. He really began the psychological approach to astrology and coined the term humanistic astrology. Rudhyar's work was based on theosophy and Eastern philosophies primarily, and he was influenced by the psychology of Carl Jung. Rudhyar's work is the basis of much of the modern astrology developed in the 1960s and 1970s. Most modern Western astrology is focused on the psychological and humanistic side, though there is currently a resurgence in some more ancient and predictive techniques, especially among younger astrologers. The gender assignments of planets and signs are problematic in the modern world. The feminine has primarily been designated as passive, receptive, weak, dark, and destructive, whereas the masculine has been designated as powerful, action-oriented, light, positive, and dominant. And there has been no consideration of other genders. The planet names are based on the Roman and Greek pantheons, which were firmly patriarchal in nature. Only the moon and Venus of the main essential bodies were designated as feminine. This isn't true of many older cultures where the planets were seen differently. For example, there were many sun goddesses in ancient cultures, and the moon was often seen as the sperm to the sun's ovum. In this book, I am moving away from these binary definitions, as we are all the sun and the moon and other planetary bodies, and each cosmic body has both strengths and weaknesses that are not gender specific. Here, we'll be integrating and expanding on the theory of an old Hellenistic technique called sects, which defined planets as diurnal of the day and nocturnal of the night. In this system, the Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn were diurnal, and Venus, Mars, and the Moon were nocturnal. Mercury bridged the gap. In the vein of some current astrologers working to create a more inclusive and non-binary approach to astrological language, we'll be using the words day and night. These delineations make sense as day and night are visible. Day is more yang or outward oriented.
How you doing today, love? I'm in the background trying to call this hospital because my mom's in the hospital. They had to put her in there yesterday. I tried to call her cell phone and get no answer, so I tried to call her room. So I'm trying to find out what's going on. But I'm here listening, just because I might not be saying that. I'm not ignoring you. Appreciate you dropping in on me.
Night is more yin or inward oriented. As the planetary table in the astrological tables section shows clearly, the 5 personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, all have both day and night qualities, depending on the energy of the sign of traditional rulership. This adds a deeper interpretation, moving us away from the inherently patriarchal and binary language of astrology that has been used until now. The solar system is a living, breathing, and pulsing organism that inhales, diurnal, and exhales, nocturnal, with all planetary bodies, signs, houses, and aspects having either day, inhale energy, or night, exhale energy, sometimes both. I associate day with the energy of the inhalation because we inhale the breath of life to give ourselves the outgoing energy for the day. At night, we release or exhale to recharge. This reflects the quantum entanglement of the solar system within each living organism and within each of us. Famous astrology followers. Throughout history, astrology has been popular with leaders, rulers, and other famous people. Catholic popes were interested in astrology in the Middle Ages and relied on the predictions and advice of astrologers for the timing of coronations and to help them make important decisions. A college for astrologers was founded in Paris by Charles V. Catherine de Medici was known to consult with Nostradamus, and Ronald and Nancy Reagan regularly consulted with astrologers. J.P. Morgan was one of many business leaders who consulted astrology before making business decisions, and once said in a court deposition, millionaires don't have astrologers, billionaires do. Additionally, former U.S. Secretary of the Treasury Donald Regan once said, "It's common knowledge that a large percentage of Wall Street brokers use astrology." Other celebrities and well-known people who are known to have consulted with astrologers include Lady Gaga, Madonna, Albert Einstein, and Theodore Roosevelt. Chapter 2. The 4 elements and 3 modalities. In this chapter, I will be exploring the 3 modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable, and the 4 key elements: fire, earth, air, and water. Modalities are also known as the qualities of the signs, or their basic modus operandi, the way they work. Each of the 3 modalities includes 4 astrological signs, one from each of the elements. The 4 elements each represent one characteristic. Fire represents spirit, water represents emotion, air represents intellect, and earth represents the physical. The zodiac, like the universe itself, is composed of these 4 elements, and in astrology, they represent archetypal characteristics within a person. As the luminaries, planets, asteroids, and other cosmic bodies work in alignment with us, so too do the elements. The elements also work in harmony with each other, so please be aware that every element is contained within each person. Each element is connected to 3 signs of the zodiac, and the predominant element in a horoscope gives a clear indication of how a person reacts, responds, and behaves. An analysis of the elemental balance alone in the chart can say a lot about the primary traits of a person. The 4 elements are further divided into the 3 modalities as follows. Aries is cardinal fire. Taurus is fixed earth. Gemini is mutable air. Cancer is cardinal water. Leo is fixed fire. Virgo is mutable earth. Libra is cardinal air. Scorpio is fixed water. Sagittarius is mutable fire. Capricorn is cardinal earth. Aquarius is fixed air. Pisces is mutable water. Blending the elements with the modalities gives us even more information about the primary traits of a person. For example, Gemini is mutable air and is therefore more likely to be very changeable. Libra is cardinal air and more likely to initiate new ideas. Cardinal modality. The first of the 3 modalities is the cardinal modality, which is associated with the 4 signs that begin each quadrant of the natural zodiac: Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Aries and Libra are the day, or inhale. Cardinal signs and Cancer and Capricorn are the night, or exhale signs. As modalities represent the basic mode of operation of a sign, all 4 cardinal signs are initiating energies that begin a new season or stage of life, and this, therefore, is reflected in their nature. Cardinal signs like to begin new projects. They are the pioneers of the zodiac, but may lack the staying power needed to bring ideas and projects to fruition. Fixed modality. The second of the 3 modalities is the fixed modality, which is associated with the 4 signs that are in the middle of each quadrant of the natural zodiac: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Here we also have 2 night, or exhale signs, Taurus and Scorpio, and 2 day, or inhale signs, Leo and Aquarius. The fixed signs do exactly what they say they will. Their basic way of behaving is to fix in place that which was initiated by the cardinal signs. They have the staying power to make the projects, plans, and ideas of the cardinal or initiating signs happen. Fixed signs generally like continuity and dislike change, but life and the universe are ever moving, which brings us to the 3rd modality. Mutable modality. Third of the 3 modalities is the mutable modality, which is associated with the 4 signs that end each quadrant of the natural zodiac and that lead into the beginning of the next: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Gemini and Sagittarius are the day, or inhale signs, and Virgo and Pisces are the night, or exhale signs. As their name suggests, mutable signs are very flexible, changeable, and versatile. They can usually see all sides of issues and cope well when life throws change at them. They can, however, easily lose focus and purpose in life and are likely to suffer from shiny object syndrome and distraction. The horoscope as the medicine wheel. 4 elements and the 4 signs of the cardinal modality have also been used in shamanic cultures for millennia as the medicine wheel, which represents the 4 cardinal directions called in ceremony and the beginning of the seasons. In the northern hemisphere, cardinal Aries, fire, begins spring. Cardinal Cancer, water, begins summer. Cardinal Libra, air, begins fall. And cardinal Capricorn, earth, begins winter. These are reversed in the southern hemisphere. The 4 directions also represent stages of life: birth, east, fire, new beginnings; youth, south, water, emotional innocence and trust; adulthood, west, earth, physical energy; and elderhood, north, air, wisdom. The whole horoscope could therefore be seen as a medicine wheel or sacred hoop of life to align with. Please note that this is one way of looking at this, and different shamanic traditions look at the wheel of life differently. The seasons of the year align with the seasons of life through birth: spring, youth; summer, adulthood; fall, and elderhood, winter. Everything is connected in a great mandala of creation. Fire. Fire is the energy of transformation and action and is day, inhale energy. As we inhale life, we draw breath to gain energy. We also expand our lungs on inhalation. Fire signs and planets are expansive or outgoing. Fire is heat and movement. Think about the energy of flames as you watch them flicker and dance, and you get a feeling for the element of fire. The sun provides the earth and humanity with the heat and light we need to survive. Fire is fast-moving and transformative, like a phoenix rising from the ashes of destruction. The three fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, are positive, inspirational, enthusiastic, and confident. They are more associated with day energy, which is more direct and focused outward, but all signs have some fire energy contained within, as we are all elements in differing quantities. Aries, ruled by the warrior god Mars, is the first of the fire signs and is the most direct and focused. Leo, ruled by the sun, is confident and loves attention. Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, is expansive and inspirational. Any placements, luminaries, planets, asteroids, or angles in fire signs will take on these characteristics. For example, those with Venus, values, and love in Aries are very direct and more warrior-like in relationships. People with Mercury, the mind and communication, in Leo have a communication style that conveys authority. Water. Water is the energy of receptivity and emotion and is a night exhale energy. Water, like emotions, is fluid and shifting. Water makes up a huge percentage of the human body and could be said to be the most crucial element. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces are the three water signs. All are deeply intuitive and creative energies. The moon rules Cancer and is associated with nurturing and mothering. Pluto rules Scorpio, which reflects the depth of this sign and is associated with obsession and psychological depths. Neptune rules Pisces and is associated with all meditative or altered states, as well as...
What's up, boo-boo? Yeah, I'm trying to get in touch with my mom. They had to rush her to the emergency room yesterday from dialysis. Said that both of those, them stents that they hook up to her on the machine, said both of them was clogged up. Now, she done been in the hospital 2 or 3 times for the same thing. I don't know what them people out there doing. So I called her cell phone. She didn't answer, so I was just calling her room number. She's still not picking up. So I'm in the background listening. I'm just trying to find out what's going on with my mom. I hope you're doing well today, babe.
Connection to the collective unconscious or spirit energy. Any placements in water signs take on a more fluid energy. Someone with Mercury, the mind and communication, in Cancer, for example, receives information instinctively and retains it at a deep level, since Cancer is a receptive night energy. Air. Air is the energy of the mind or thought and is a day, inhale energy. This is the breath and the wind. We can't hold on to breath. It flows in and out, and wind is needed to stop the air around us from becoming stagnant. Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius are the three air signs, and they are the signs of thought, ideas, sociability, and the analytical. Air signs are associated with rationality and the right brain. Gemini, ruled by Mercury, is associated with duality and learning. Libra, ruled by Venus, is associated with diplomacy, relationships, and mediation. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and is associated with the internet because of its connectivity of thoughts, ideas, and people, higher intellect, inventiveness, and innovation. Any placements in air signs take on an airier flavor. Someone with Mars, drive and will, in Gemini, for example, is a fast learner and likely to speak very quickly and directly. Earth. Earth is the energy of the material world, energy that you can touch and feel. Earth is stable, practical, and patient, and it is a night exhale energy. Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn are the three earth signs, and they are the signs of hard work, building, creating material things, and connection to the material world and structures. Earth signs are sensual, have creative qualities, and are connected to the natural cycles of nature, as well as the human cycle of birth, life, and death. Taurus, ruled by Venus, is the most connected with the material world and the earth itself. Virgo, ruled by Mercury, is more connected with the technical world and crafts. Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, is the pioneer of the earth signs and is the leadership and achievement-oriented sign. Any placements in earth signs will take on the flavor of the sign. For example, someone with Mars, drive and will, in Taurus will be slower and more deliberate than someone with Mars in the sign of rulership. Aries, which is very fast-moving and direct. Chapter 3. Sun Signs. In this chapter, I will be discussing the 12 sun signs of the zodiac. In contemporary astrology, the sun signs represent our core self and could be said to represent our ego. The sun signs are the part of the self that almost everyone knows and the primary energy that fuels our being. I will provide keywords, technical details such as ruling planet, and some fun facts about each sign. We'll be looking at dualities, night, feminine, yin or day, masculine, yang, in this section. View the signs as an evolution of personal development from birth. Aries, to end of life. Pisces, so that you can gain a deeper understanding of how the signs work within you. We all have energy from every sign within us, no matter what our sun sign is. Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac and is seen by most to be the start of the astrological year. The ingress, or moving into, of the sun into Aries signals the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, and Aries is the first sign in the natural horoscope ruling the first house. The sign spans the first 30 degrees of the zodiac, and the sun transits the sign from the equinox, approximately March 21st, to April 20th. These dates change according to the sun's actual movement in the sky from our perspective here on Earth. Aries is a day cardinal fire sign, is ruled by Mars, the god of war, and represents youth, which is very focused on the self. The Aries symbol is the ram, and its glyph represents the horns of the ram. Aries is in polarity with the sign of Libra, an air sign, which means they are complementary and work well together. The dominant keyword for Aries is I am, which means they are all about the self and like to come first. Aries rules the head and eyes. Red is the color associated with Aries, diamond is the birthstone, and iron is the metal. The most likable traits for Aries are that they are dynamic, pioneering, and seen as leaders by others. Inwardly, they have a healthy self-interest and are very courageous. They may have a tendency to be aggressive and reactionary if their directness isn't tempered. Others see Aries as impatient, fast-moving, and daring. Lady Gaga, Elton John, Nancy Pelosi, and Leonardo da Vinci were all born under the sign of Aries. Taurus. Second sign of the zodiac is Taurus. The sun transits this sign from about April 21st to May 20th, and it rules the second house. Taurus is a night fixed earth sign and is ruled by Venus in her material world incarnation as goddess of the manifest. Like Aries, this sign is represented by a horned animal, the bull, indicating that these first two signs are very straightforward and head first. The glyph for Taurus represents the head and horns of the bull. Taurus represents the stage of life that realizes the connection with the physical world. Scorpio is the sign that is in polarity to Taurus, and the two complement each other well. Like the strong and solid bull that represents the sign, the dominant keyword for Taurus is build, as those born under the sign love to develop all that endures. The sign of Taurus is associated with the throat and vocal cords. The gemstone most associated with the sign is emerald, but being the most material of signs, Taurus is also associated with sapphires, and copper is the metal. Taurus embodies animal wisdom in that they have finely honed senses and are sensual, practical, and loyal. Inwardly, they are deeply grounded, patient, and steady, but this can also lead to the tendency to be stubborn or bullheaded and overly materialistic in the pursuit of security. Others see Taurus as stable and lacking in pretense. Queen Elizabeth II, Mark Zuckerberg, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson were born under the sign of Taurus. The nickname "The Rock" really is emblematic of the sign, as rocks are of the earth element. Gemini. Gemini spans the third 30 degrees of the zodiac. The sun transits this sign from about May 21st to June 20th, and Gemini rules the third house of the zodiac. Gemini is a day-mutable air sign and is one of the two signs ruled by Mercury in his mind, messenger incarnation. This sign symbolizes the twins and is represented by a glyph of twins that are both separate and connected. Gemini represents the stage of life when we begin to communicate verbally and to realize both our connection to and our separation from each other. Sagittarius is the sign that is in polarity to Gemini. Just as Gemini is the sign of the twins, there are a few gemstones said to be lucky for the sign. Yellow stones are most often seen as lucky, such as agate, citrine, and amber. It's no surprise that Gemini's lucky metal is Mercury itself. Gemini is associated with the chest, lungs, nervous system, arms, and shoulders. Gemini is the thinker and symbolizes the mind, voice, and communication. Their inner life is curious, observant, often scattered, and may be highly strung. Geminis are seen as social and verbally expressive, but sometimes manipulative and duplicitous. John F. Kennedy, Donald Trump, Paul McCartney, Prince, and Bob Dylan were all born under the sign of Gemini. Cancer. Cancer is the fourth sign of the zodiac. From about June 21st to July 20th, the sun transits the sign of Cancer. Cancer is a night cardinal water sign. The sign is represented by the crab, and its glyph is the two pincers of the crab in protective mode. This already says a lot about the energy of the sign of Cancer, as Cancers are primarily introverted and protective. The polarity to Cancer is the earth sign of Capricorn. The lucky metal and gemstones associated with the sign are reflective of its ruler, the moon. The metal is silver, and the stones are moonstone, pearl, and white quartz. Cancer is associated with the stomach, chest, and breast. Feel is the primary word for this sign, and Cancers are all emotion and intuition. Cancer is the nurturer of the zodiac and very tradition and family-oriented. Inwardly, the sign is extremely sensitive and can tend toward being insecure and giving too much, to the point of ignoring their own needs. Others see them as responsive and loving, but they can also be moody. Princess Diana, the Dalai Lama, Tom Cruise, and Meryl Streep were all born under the sign of Cancer. Popular astrology forecasts. Astrological forecasts that appear on online sites and in magazines and newspapers are the analysis of the chart for each of the signs as a whole and are general in nature. They do, however, have validity, especially if you know your rising sign and can read the forecast for that sign as well as the sun sign. These forecasts, when done well, will look at the primary transits of the planets currently and how they affect each astrological house after placing the sun sign on the cusp of the first house in a chart for the current time. For example, if Pluto is in Capricorn by transit and being activated by other transits, and you have a Libra sun, then the forecast will be based on a chart with your Libra sun on the first house cusp. This chart will then show Pluto transiting in your third house, as Capricorn is the third sign after Libra. This may not be your actual third house in your natal chart, but will still have some resonance. If you are a Libra rising, then the forecast will be speaking generally about the areas of life contained by your own third house. If you like to read general forecasts, knowing your ascendant will be beneficial. Leo. Fifth sign of the zodiac is Leo. The sun transits the sign of Leo from around July 21st to August 20th. Leo is a day-fixed fire sign and is ruled by the sun. The lion is the symbol of this regal sign, and its glyph represents the lion's head and mane. The sign of polarity is Aquarius. Unsurprisingly, gold is the metal associated with Leo, and the lucky gemstones are golden and amber colors, such as amber, tiger's eye, and yellow topaz. Leo rules the heart, spine, and upper back. Leos are born to lead, and that is their primary word. Whether king, queen, or leader in their own home, Leos are born to shine and charm. They crave attention and tend to be melodramatic and superior when in shadow. Otherwise, Leos are dynamic, self-confident, and playful. At their best, they are magnetic and affectionate and light up the lives of those around them because they carry the sun's radiance within. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Madonna, and James Baldwin were all born under the sign of Leo. Virgo. Sixth sign of the zodiac is Virgo. The sun transits the sign of Virgo from around August 21st to September 20th. Virgo is a night mutable earth sign, the second sign to be ruled by Mercury, but in a more technical, detail-oriented, hands-on incarnation. This sign is represented by the maiden or virgin, meaning in this case, one who is whole unto herself. Its glyph resembles the letter M for maiden, carrying a shaft of wheat to represent the harvest. This suggests a state of being that reflects the energies of Virgo, rather than merely a gender. Pisces is the sign in polarity to Virgo. Like Gemini, the other Mercury-ruled sign, Virgo's metal is Mercury itself, and the lucky gemstones associated with the sign are sapphire, jade, and jasper. The digestive system and spleen are associated with Virgo. Virgo energy embodies the principle of service, as they love to feel useful in the world. Virgos are attentive to detail and very analytical. Their inner world is often self-critical, and they are worriers. They can tend to servitude rather than service and forget to take care of themselves in the process. Others see Virgos as ethical and organized, though I find it to be somewhat of a myth that Virgos are always tidy. This is in part because their perfectionist tendencies can lead to analysis paralysis. Analyze is the primary word for Virgo. Prince Harry, Mother Teresa, Bernie Sanders, and Freddie Mercury of Queen were all born under the sign of Virgo. Libra. Libra is the seventh sign of the zodiac. Libra season has the sun transiting the sign from around September 21st to October 20th. Libra is a day cardinal air sign. Libra is ruled by Venus in her more cerebral incarnation. The symbol of Libra is the scales, and its glyph reflects both balance and the setting sun as we enter autumn in the northern hemisphere, or the rising sun in the southern hemisphere. Aries is the sign of polarity. Peridot and topaz are Libra's lucky gemstones, and the associated metal is copper. The kidneys, skin, lower back, and buttocks are ruled by Libra. Balance is the primary word for Libras because they try to find the middle ground and harmonious balance in all that they do. Libra is the diplomat and mediator of the zodiac. Because of that, they can come across as indecisive, vacillating, and even passive-aggressive at times. Generally, Libra comes across as fair, peace-loving, and creative. Inwardly, they are focused on others and relationships. Examples of well-known Librans are Mahatma Gandhi, Serena Williams, Will Smith, and Oscar Wilde. Scorpio. Ruling the 8th house and therefore the 8th sign is Scorpio. The sun transits the sign of Scorpio from around October 21st to November 20th. Scorpio is a night-fixed water sign ruled by Pluto, modern, and Mars, traditional. A deep and complex sign, both its symbol and its glyph represent the scorpion, its stinger suggesting the potentially stinging nature of Scorpio. As a highly complex and transformational sign, however, Scorpio is also associated with the serpent, a symbol of transformation, and the phoenix, a symbol of rebirth. Taurus is the sign of polarity. Iron and steel are associated with Scorpio, and ruby and garnet are the lucky gemstones. Scorpio rules the reproductive system and sexual organs. Desire is the primary word for the sign of Scorpio, as it reflects the emotional depth and complexity of this magnetic and private sign. Scorpio is seen as magnetic, powerful, and sometimes intimidating by others. Internally, they can be brooding and obsessive, but also deeply instinctual and psychological. When Scorpios are able to dive into the most emotionally intense issues of life, they are able to connect with their true power. Pablo Picasso, Hedy Lamarr, RuPaul, Leonardo DiCaprio, Lisa Bonet, and John Gotti were all born under the sign of Scorpio.
John Gotti.
Different uses for astrology. Although this book deals with natal astrology, it's important to note that astrology has many uses that can be explored both separately and in conjunction with the natal chart. Mundane astrology is the astrology of events, organizations, elections, countries, and weather events. The word mundane is from the Latin mundanus, meaning worldly. Any event or organization has an inception chart, which is read in a similar way to the natal chart. Financial astrology is a specialty that predicts financial events and cycles. Horary astrology is a tool used to answer a specific question based on the time the question is posed. This technique is used for anything where a question can be asked, such as, "Where are my keys?" Medical astrology is used to diagnose and treat illness and can also be used for prevention, as it can show areas of weakness in a person's health. Astrocartography, or locational astrology, is based on planetary lines drawn around the globe to indicate how a facet of a person's life is either enhanced or diminished by living in a specific place. Sagittarius. Sign ruling the 9th house is Sagittarius. The sun transits the sign from around November 21st to December 20th. Sagittarius is a day mutable fire sign ruled by Jupiter. The glyph for Sagittarius is an arrow pointing to the stars and reflects the symbol of the archer, who is half human and half horse. Both the glyph and symbol reflect the forward-thinking visionary energy of the sign. Gemini is the sign in polarity. Sagittarius rules the hips, thighs, and liver. Turquoise and amethyst are the lucky stones for Sagittarius, and the metal is tin. Wander and wonder are the primary words for Sagittarius because they like to wander physically and mentally, and they often live in a state of wonder at the world. Sagittarius is the seeker of truth and freedom and loves exploration of all kinds. They are often seen as naive, inspirational, and eternal optimists. Spiritually oriented and visionary, they have the ability to see the big picture of life. If Sagittarius embraces life as a quest for experience and truth, their tendency towards naivete can become higher wisdom. Walt Disney, Jane Fonda, Jimi Hendrix, Jay-Z, and Gianni Versace were all born under the sign of Sagittarius. Capricorn. The 10th sign of the zodiac is Capricorn, and it is ruled by Saturn. The sun transits the sign of Capricorn from around December 21st to January 20th. Capricorn is a night cardinal earth sign. The symbol for Capricorn is the sea goat, and the glyph represents the hoof of the goat with the tail of a fish. This softer side of Capricorn has been lost in many astrological texts. The polarity of the sign is Cancer. Capricorn rules the skeletal system, teeth, and joints. Capricorn's metal is lead, and the gemstone is ruby. The primary word for Capricorn is achieve. Capricorns are focused on climbing the ladder of achievement, but may have a tendency to do so based on the expectations of the outer world rather than based on a foundation of self-trust, which is where the tail of the fish comes in. Capricorn is seen as responsible and determined, but also at times controlling and fearful. Inwardly, although Capricorn is hardworking and law-abiding, there is often an underlying fear of never being enough. Their commitment and leadership qualities are their strengths. Jeff Bezos, Elvis Presley, Michelle Obama, and Betty White were all born under the sign of Capricorn. Aquarius. Ruling the 11th house of the zodiac is Aquarius. The sun transits the sign of Aquarius from around January 21st to February 20th. Aquarius is a day-fixed air sign and is ruled by Uranus, modern, and Saturn, traditional. Although the symbol for Aquarius is the water bearer, what the glyph actually represents is waves of energy. The symbol is pouring spirit or energy down from the heavens. This indicates the otherworldly quality of the sign. The polarity of this sign is Leo. The sign's associated metal is lead, and the gemstones are obsidian and sapphire. Aquarius rules the calves, ankles, and nervous system. Aquarians are the individuals of the zodiac, and their primary word is no. Aquarians are sometimes seen as the weirdos of the zodiac, as they are unpredictable, inventive, and original in nature. Aquarians are socially conscious and are dedicated to causes and reform, but they can also be emotionally distant and even anarchistic at times. Because they often feel alienated from those around them, they are sometimes tempted to betray their convictions to fit in, but their path is to embody their personal truth, no matter what. Oprah Winfrey, Bob Marley, Ellen DeGeneres, and Franklin D. Roosevelt were all born under the sign of Aquarius. Pisces. 12th and final sign of the zodiac is Pisces. From around February 21st to March 20th, the sun transits the sign of Pisces. Pisces is a night mutable water sign. The symbol for Pisces is the fish, and its glyph represents two fish swimming in different directions, yet connected by a cord. If we look at the zodiac as a path of human development, Pisces is the time of death and the time before birth, the amniotic fluid. Endings and beginnings.
What's up, Charles?
Neptune, modern, and Jupiter, traditional, are the rulers of Pisces. The polarity of the sign is Virgo. Pisces rules the feet, the lymphatic system, and the third eye. The stones corresponding to this sign are white diamond, aquamarine, and amethyst, and the metal is tin. Pisces is the most spiritual and compassionate sign, and their primary word is believe. They are seen as highly sensitive, creative, and mystical beings. Pisces often struggle with boundaries and are extreme empaths, which can cause them to fall into the role of victim or martyr. Like the symbol of the fish swimming in two directions, it's the lesson of Pisces to live in the realms of the manifest and the mystical. If they can become comfortable with being an agent of spirit in the physical realm, they will avoid the escapist and addictive tendencies they may turn to on occasion. Pisces is associated with the energies of magic and the movies. Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, Dr. Seuss, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Kurt Cobain were all born under the sign of Pisces.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna end this. I'll be back a little later on with the rest of it. I'm trying to find out what's going on with my mom right now. So as always, my loves, go within so you never